Singapore may head for an early election before the COVID-19 pandemic is over. Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean says although the conditions are not ideal, it gives the new government a clear and fresh mandate to see the country through the global crisis. A date for the election has yet to be set, but it must be held by April next year. The remarks come amid suggestions that the polls should be held only towards the tail end of the virus spread.
The longer we wait, the more unpredictable, difficult and dangerous it could be. Compounding this will be the uncertainty that comes with when the election will be held as we go through the year trying to face this crisis together. Alternatively, the country can go for early elections, settle who will lead the country through this major crisis, give the new government a clear and fresh mandate, a full term ahead, legitimacy to take major decisions, tough decisions, in the interest of Singaporeans. When you are sailing into a storm, you want to be certain who your captain is and that he will not be changed halfway. You want to make sure that he is there, together with you, working with you, guiding you through the storm. It's not a good idea to place all our hope in the situation improving before April 2021 and add the uncertainty of when an election will be held to the uncertainties that are already ahead of us.
Mr. Teo also said that it would be unconstitutional for Singapore to delay the holding of the election beyond the deadline, as this can be done only if a state of emergency is called. He was responding to MP Christopher D'Souza, who noted that former MP and Progress Singapore Party chief Tan Cheng Bock had suggested that the election be postponed and that the President exercise her power to create a caretaker government.
The President's power to declare an emergency can only be exercised on the advice of Cabinet. Even if the President proclaims an emergency, given that the incumbent Cabinet remains in office during an emergency, there is no legal basis or practical need for the President to form a new government. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not helpful to mislead people into thinking that such an option exists to put off elections indefinitely and for the President to form a new government when this goes against the Constitution. Even if there is a caretaker government under a state of emergency, it would by definition be a caretaker. It would be hobbled by the fact that it lacks the explicit mandate of voters and would therefore not be in a position to take major decisions on behalf of Singaporeans. And this is the reason why Constitutional Convention requires that a caretaker government not make any far-reaching or long-term measure. So this is the fundamental problem. So how can this be in the best interest of the country and our people? To suggest this shows a disregard for or lack of understanding of the Constitution, putting forward constitutionally unworkable proposals at a time of serious national crisis can only confuse and mislead Singaporeans to the detriment of Singapore and Singaporeans.
And as for how an election could be held safely amid the pandemic, Mr. Teo said that precautions will be needed regardless of when the election is held, and the next one will necessarily be different from past elections.
So at every step, nominations, campaigning, voting, we will have to make all the necessary arrangements to ensure that parties can campaign effectively, people can vote safely. For example, for campaigning, we can have live streaming of speeches on the internet, adequate TV time for candidates. For voting, we already have special express lanes for seniors and those who need them. We can also have social distancing while queuing, proper hand hygiene for voting paraphernalia, hand sanitizers for voters. We will learn from the experiences of other countries that are holding elections, even during this ongoing COVID-19 outbreak. All these measures and precautions are required to protect Singaporeans whatever measures taken will affect all political parties equally.